So it's been 3 weeks since the Americans and the Israelis launched this war of aggression on Iran. And as the war continues to drag on, the American President Donald Trump and his administration is now seeking a congressional approval for an additional $200 billion worth of funds. You must hear that number again. To fight this war, Donald Trump is asking the Congress $200 billion additional funds. The Pentagon has requested for the $200 billion for America's ongoing war with Iran. However, several lawmakers opposed the demand on Thursday. The Democrats and even some Republicans have questioned the need for more funding. Now, others have raised concerns on where the funding will in fact come from. The demand to pump in billions and billions of dollars into America's Warchest has raised questions on its need, especially after the American president has repeatedly said that the war is almost over and is not going to last long. Now, journalists in fact raised the question on Thursday when Trump was hosting Japan's Prime Minister Sane Takaichi. Trump, on his part, said that the need for the funding is not just for Iran, it's actually beyond that. Listen in.
The war is almost over. Why is the Pentagon going to ask Congress for an additional $200 billion?
Well, we're asking for a lot of reasons beyond even what we're talking about in Iran. This is a very volatile world, and the military equipment, the power of some of this weaponry is unthinkable. You don't even want to know about it. Oh, you could end this thing in 2 seconds if you wanted to, but we are being very judicious.
Now, the top Trump officials in the Trump administration say that this number could actually change. During a media briefing, the American Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, said, and I quote, "It takes money to kill bad guys."
As far as $200 billion, I think that number could move, obviously. It takes money to kill bad guys. So we're going back to Congress and our folks there to ensure that we're properly funded for what's been done, for what we may have to do in the future, ensure that our ammunition everything's refilled, and not just refilled, but above and beyond. I mean,
all right, so it takes money to kill bad guys. That's the wisdom that's coming out of the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth. Now, the American president is yet to send the request for additional military funding to both the chambers for approval. It is unclear as to when that will happen. And earlier, the Trump administration officials had told the lawmakers that Washington had spent more than $11 billion just on the weapons that they dropped in the first 6 days of the Iran war. That $11 billion figure does not include the logistics and the other costs involved in starting this war. So as the war continues, officials estimate that it is costing the American exchequer approximately $1 to $2 billion every single day that the Americans are involved in fighting this war against Iran. All right, now to put all of this in perspective, we're joined on this broadcast all the way from Virginia in the United States, Professor Robert Spitzer. He's an adjunct professor at the College of William and Mary School of Law and a distinguished service professor emeritus at Political Science Department. Professor, thank you very much indeed for joining us here on WION. Now, this is a war that was started by Donald Trump, perhaps hoping for a quick and an easy victory by bringing about some kind of regime change. But that clearly is not happening. Donald Trump said he will put America first. He brought in this DOGE concept, Department of Government Efficiency, that saved him about $200 billion. But now he's asking for $200 billion more to fight a war against Iran, for which there does not appear to be a clear end game. What's your assessment of the situation that Donald Trump has got himself into?
I think Donald Trump has handled this whole matter about as poorly as imaginable. It's deficient both in strategic terms and in political terms. Strategically, he has never made clear exactly why he began a preemptive war with the nation of Iran. He insists that it was because Iran posed an imminent threat to the United States, but virtually nobody believes that. And they've dissembled about other possible reasons. Politically speaking, he has done nothing to cultivate and rally public opinion to support this war that we have begun. He's done nothing to consult with leaders of Congress before this began, much less now. And now he comes to Congress and says he would like $200 billion. And as your setup piece explained, Secretary Pete Hegseth is suggesting that it may be more than $200 billion. This proposal lands like a big fat mud pie on Congress. The Republicans are unhappy about it, although they are reluctant to express their open dismay about this. And the Democrats are vowed not to let this through. I think it's possible that ultimately Congress might approve some dollar amount, because a request for money can be adjusted up or down.
Right.
But he is going to have a very tough time getting any request through Congress right now.
And also, Professor, we a little while back covered the recent post Donald Trump has posted about the NATO military allies who are not willing to try and help out Donald Trump in reopening the Strait of Hormuz. Now, the United States of America is the most powerful nation in the world with the strongest navy. Why does Donald Trump think that if the U.S. Navy can't do it, the NATO military alliance's navies will be able to step in and open that blockade that exists in the Strait of Hormuz? Who is even advising the American President Donald Trump on these affairs?
Well, one of the key features of Trump's presidency is that his second term right now, he is very much more surrounded himself with people who agree with whatever he says without offering dissenting voices. And the idea that he would go to American allies who he mostly criticizes and ridicules, certainly Western European nations, Americans' traditional allies, he has had nothing but contempt for them, and the same is true of other allies. So why should they step in to begin with? Secondly, I think it's an indication that militarily we are in some trouble. That is to say, American forces have expended an enormous number of missiles, of drones, of other armaments and munitions, and he's realizing that the Strait of Hormuz is a real choke point, and that Iran still retains the ability to close it off, and that's putting pressure on the United States, and he realizes he's in trouble. But why should our traditional allies, who Trump has managed to alienate, do anything, lift a finger to support this unpopular incursion?
That's very interesting. We'll have to see as to how things unfold. Thank you very much indeed, Professor Spitzer, for joining us with that perspective there.
Yes, sir.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.